Saving for retirement is one of the most important things that you can do. As basic as it is, though, you'd be surprised how many people get it wrong. How many things get in the way? Life happens. Kids come along, the roof needs repair, you name it. There's always something that seems to get in the way. Hey, I'm Greg Welborn with First Financial Consulting here in Pasadena, California, and we want to talk today about how to save for retirement. Now, the ideal savings level is determined by a lot of different factors, but age is one of the most important ones. And in fact, the Federal Reserve estimates there's a substantial difference between the savings level of, let's say, a 30-year-old versus that of a 50-year-old. In America, at least, your average 30-year-old's got about $21,000. Your average 50-year-old's got about $223,000. But is that enough? Maybe not. There's some other guidelines out there that would indicate that in order to be prepared, again, just guidelines, general averages, if you're 40, you need to have 4 times your annual income already in the piggy bank. If you're 50, 7 times, and if you're in your 60s, 8 times. Now, what does that mean practically speaking? Well, let's take a look at a 50-year-old earning $100,000. That means that they have to have $700,000. A 50-year-old earning $100,000 has to have $700,000 in the piggy bank. But the average American 50-year-old has got 223. There's a difference here. In fact, most Americans, 50% of them, I think, are afraid of running out of money in retirement. It's a real fear. It's a legitimate fear. It's something to work on. So how do you do that? How do you get back on track? Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to figure out, what are you saving? What's that magic number going to be? Now, the ideal amount of savings needs to provide for your income, which is going to grow with inflation, but it also has to see the principal balance grow as well. So you need an amount of money that can sustain your living standard, and believe it or not, in let's say 20 plus years of retirement, the average in America today, the principal balance needs to double. Now that may sound unrealistic, but it really is what 3% inflation does over 24, 25 some odd years. Think back on a gallon of milk or a postage stamp or a carton of eggs, whatever is the commodity of choice. What were the prices 20 some odd years ago? I think you'll figure out, if you go back and do that, look it up, it's about doubled. And as much as you might think that the price of gas is high, or clothes or postage stamps today, in 20 some odd years, they're going to be more expensive. You have to plan for that. Secondly, you got to take a look at your budget. Are there areas where you can cut back? Can you increase the amount that you put in savings? You got to develop that plan, and then you got to figure out a way to do that. Now, you may also have to increase the number of years that you're working. I mean, if we have 5 years or 10 years or whatever that is, and we know where you have to get, you know that a dollar amount you need to have, we can figure out how much you have to save along the way. But what if it's not enough? You can cut back, but at some point, if there's no more room to cut back, you can always work a little longer. More years working, more years saving, less years spending in retirement has an amazing effect on success. So that's one of the options. Okay? Now, the next thing you need to do is be wise about where you put your savings. Put them in a checking or savings account is just not going to cut it. There's just not enough interest there, and there really aren't enough tax benefits. The first place to look is in deferred accounts. What I mean by those are the 401ks, the pension plans, the IRAs, the Roths, especially if your 401k or whatever your company, your employer's plan is, offers a match. It's a very magic thing. A match essentially is an employer willing to say, if you put in, and there are lots of formulas here, but if you put in 4%, they'll put in 2%, or if you put in 3%, they'll put in a full 3%. Whatever that match is, it's free money. Take advantage of that first. If you have more to save, then move to the IRAs and move to the Roths. But let's say you've exhausted those and you still need to save more. Well, you're not in retirement jail. You can use a regular taxable account. And what do I mean by that? It's an account where each year the earnings are taxed. The retirement accounts that I mentioned earlier, the Roths, the 401ks, the IRAs, they have a little bit of magic to them in that growth is not taxed. You put money in, you get a tax break by putting money in, You let it grow, you don't get taxed, you only get taxed on the end. So the money compounds faster. Regular taxable account, yeah, Uncle Sam's going to take his cut each year, but it's still growing. It's still put money aside, and that's the key here. Next thing you need to do, invest wisely. You see, savings in and of itself is not going to do it. You have to do something with the savings. You're going to have some combination of stocks, bonds, real estate. There are no magic formulas here. There are some guidelines, but there are no magic formulas here. Nobody, or no, in this day and age, algorithm, no website has the one-size-fits-all solution. And if anyone says that to you, they're just trying to get to your money as fast as possible. Instead, it takes some time. You have to work out a couple of things. How long do you have until you retire? How many years can you put money aside? Second, how many years will you need that money? Are you planning on that 20 years of retirement, or do you have longevity in the genes? You got aunts and uncles and grandma and grandpas that are living in their 90s. Maybe someone's crushed at 100. You need to plan for 30 years in retirement. Third thing, what is your risk tolerance? This is where a lot of people get this wrong. They come up with some investment plan. I'm going to do 50% stocks, 50% bonds, or 40-60 or whatever. But they don't anticipate what the downside is going to look like. And when the downside happens, and it will, especially if you've got 20 years retirement, you're going to see a couple downsides. They bail. And we've got some great bench talks on that topic in our web. But right here, let me just say to you that what happens is most people don't anticipate what their risk threshold is. The downside hits, they get out, and the market then recovers and goes up, and they don't get back in. They are practicing market timing whether they know it or not. So you've got to know how many years you're going to save. You've got to know how many years you're going to need the money, and you have to get it right as to what that balance between stocks, bonds, real estate is going to be so that you can withstand it. It's emotionally sustainable, if you will. Like I said, there are no magic answers, but there are solutions. There are answers, and we would love to help you out. We'd love to spend the time to learn about your situation, figure out how much you need to save, what to do with that savings, where to put that savings. We offer 100% objective advice. We are a fiduciary. It's the gold standard, if you will. It means that we are duty and legally bound to give advice that is in your best interest, not ours, not your cousin Fred's, and certainly not an insurance company's best interest. It's what's in your best interest. So we'd love to begin that conversation. Give us a call, send us an email. Let's get on the path to a successful retirement. Thanks for listening.